Wait, he's not looking. Now's a good time for a quick BR9 kill. Ah, shit. The BR9 makes me want to die. This weapon needs no further introduction, let's go through the stats. It deals 50 damage up close, dropping down to 30. Respectable, that's the same as the Magnum and Eagle. The damage starts to drop off at 350 units and goes down to 1100 units, and that's fine too. It's very similar to the Magnum and Eagle, just a little bit weaker. They are both 350 out to 1200. 8 rounds in the magazine as well, and that's a step up from the Deagle. Okay. For some reason, the BR9 rate of fire was made lower at 600 RPM instead of 625 like every other pistol because the time in between shots is 0.1 seconds instead of the usual 0.096. Why would they make that change? I don't know, just to be annoying. Maybe it'll screw you up, but you often don't want to be shooting that quickly anyway, even if you can, 10 trigger pulls a second. Well, it doesn't seem like we've gotten to any reason to hate this weapon yet, though. It actually seems quite good. Let's keep going. A lot of the stats are very similar and not worth bringing up, all very comparable to the other pistols, although when you use it, you will immediately notice this atrocious visual recoil that completely blocks what you're shooting at. If you thought the Deagle had some kick to it, that's nothing compared to this trash. You would have to fire hilariously slowly to be able to track your target. Your best bet is to line up your sights and then just predict their location as soon as you start shooting. Despite the gun flying up in your face, the bullets all end up going fairly straight, kind of like how you can spam the Deagle, you can spam this thing too. Just don't go too fast and it'll be pretty accurate, you just can't see anything. But that is actually not the reason I hate this weapon so much. We still haven't gotten there yet. There's one more key stat different about this new pistol that I have saved for last, because as of right now, if there was no final stat, if the weapon ended there, I wouldn't mind it at all. It's kind of like a Deagle with an extra bullet, a couple tiny nerfs to range and fire rate, and some hilariously terrible visual kick that makes it much harder to use. I'd prefer the Deagle and Magnum any day, but that recoil makes it into a challenge weapon, and that's perfectly fine. I don't want them to put a Deagle replacement like some full auto Glocks in the supply drops. That would be horrible. Like the P2000 was found in the game a long time ago along with the Galil and Striker shotgun. I'm glad they have yet to add those, because the other things found at the same time being the Gravedigger melee weapon, the XMLAR, and the Kamchatka 12, we all know those became a reality. I'd much rather this BR9 be added than a P2000 that everybody starts using. It's totally cool for them to add in a bit of a joke weapon that is clearly meant to be harder to use, but they crossed the line when they messed with the initial draw speed, the thing that caused me to die in the intro to this video, aside from my own stupidity and greed, I suppose. The initial draw speed being the first time you pick up or swap to a weapon in every life. Anyone who has unlocked and used this thing, or even picked it up off the ground, has to know what I'm talking about. You know how there's sometimes an animation that plays when you pick up a gun, or like every melee weapon has an animation that plays the first time, like flipping a knife around, or spinning a karambit, or smashing a bottle, and then every time after that, swapping to it is much quicker and less elaborate. Well, it's fun fact time. I did a bit of testing. There are 15 primary weapons that require an initial draw animation of some kind when they are swapped to with overkill or picked up off the ground, and there they all are. If you take a look at that list, you can see it's mostly ARs and SMGs, no snipers at all, and the 2 DLC shotguns there, and then the Bird as the only LMG. The other 19 primaries in the game have no swap animation. Swapping to them the first time or picking them up off the ground looks pretty much the same as every other time. That's an interesting thing to consider if you're trying to pick a good overkill weapon. Always organize primary and secondary overkill weapons by sprint speed and by swap animation. Quickest run speed weapon should be your primary, and something with no initial swap animation should be your secondary, because you don't have to do that double swap every time you spawn in. Now on to what really matters, because not many people use overkill. Every sidearm in this game has a quarter of a second swap time, 0.25, and the initial swap time is obviously the same, 0.25. They have no swap animation at all. You'll notice that even in gun game too, when in other games it might play a little animation for every weapon swap, even for secondaries, rack on the slide or something. That doesn't happen in this game. It's always a quick swap to the pistol. That is until the BR9, having a thick 0.83 second initial swap time, 3.3 times longer than every other pistol, because it has a little animation to play the first time you pull it out. I am way too lazy to swap to this thing and swap back every time I spawn in, just in case I might need to use it later in a pinch. Because yes, after that animation plays one time and you put it back away, it will now be a 0.25 second swap time like every other pistol, until you die and respawn, and now you'll have to see the long animation again. I almost think this might be something they end up changing or speeding up, because it's just dumb. I said I was fine with a challenge pistol, a bad bad pistol, something that's hard to use, but there's nothing fun about this slow swap time, forcing you to prepare it on every respawn with a double swap, or suffer the really slow swap time. Obviously, no sidearm should have an initial swap animation, because you need to be able to swap to them quickly. That's the entire point of your sidearm in this game. Switching to your pistol is always faster than reloading. Gaz wouldn't lie to me, but now this gun is making Gaz a liar. Is that what you want? I can reload the M1014 faster than I can swap to this thing, and with sleight of hand, I can reload every assault rifle and nearly every SMG faster than I can swap to this pile of garbage. I will also throw in here, that draw animation means the BR9 is practically useless as a last stand pistol. Say what you want about last stand, it is annoying, it is a scumbag move, but I definitely used it to passively grind up pistol camos, and obviously do the last stand challenges too, you kinda have to, but you really can't use last stand with the BR9 because it has to do that animation every time you go down. Even if you were running around with the pistol already out, it will repeat the animation when you go down because it like pulls out a new pistol. Yeah, not a good one for last stand. So I think you know how I feel about this thing. If it had a normal initial swap time, or if you're swapping to it on every spawn because you're going BR9 only, then it plays like a goofy and annoying to use deagle. If you're trying to use it like a sidearm, well you shouldn't, because it's horrible. Very unreliable when you need it most, unless you condition yourself to double tap on every respawn, and even then it's still kinda goofy with that crazy visual recoil. So, if you're wanting to only unlock helpful weapons, don't spend any credits on this thing. The Magnum is a great option to essentially have a suppressed deagle for the price of one fewer bullet, and the proc lot is fairly good now after it was buffed. Now, finally, I usually make some class recommendations for each of these new weapons, going through what perks and such might complement it. So we should do that. My first recommendation for the BR9 is a really cool one. You can see there are no attachments for this thing, of course, but I recently discovered this really neat trick to improve the performance of your sidearm here. If you press X or A on the weapon itself, this secret menu pops up where you can actually make it a lot better just by going over here and pressing X or A again right there. And now you're done. You can re-add your camos and kits however you like, and you're good to go, just like that. This method really does work, I promise, no editing trickery here. You should notice much better performance from your sidearm following that method, much easier to use, quick to swap to, and still very strong. So you can give that a try, let me know if it works for you. If that isn't what you're looking for, I understand. It is a bit of an exploit I discovered. So I came up with a second option to make your life easier, another cool secret method I haven't seen anyone talking about. Now this might only work for PS4. If you hold down the PlayStation button right in the middle of the controller, this other menu will come up, and if you quickly press down once on the D-pad, then right and down again, and finally press X, there you go. If you did it properly, you should notice you're immediately having more fun than you were playing with the BR9. This has worked for everyone I showed it to, and after making that improvement, now you're free to look out a window or go tell a family member how much you appreciate them. This method has worked wonders for me. So I hope one of those two methods can help you out gameplay-wise, and I hope you enjoy using the BR9 if you really hate yourself that much. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.